Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Alex and Sammy G here, and this is your weekly fishing report. Now, it's officially ROCKtober, as many people like to call it. And with that saying, there's Besides Fishing, our customer appreciation event coming up, and that's 16, 17, and 18. Now, Sammy, there's a lot of great sales going on that day.
Yeah.
I mean, we got everything in here is going to be on sale that you're going to see in this video, plus great sales on rods, reels, and combos. So go to our website, make sure to check out all your options there, and let's get started with rock fishing. Trolling. What's going on there, bud?
A lot of people are trolling, especially out on the main stem of the bay, fishing in the, I would say, 20 to 30 feet of water. They're getting the baits down about 10, 15 feet down in the water column. It's been all about tandems, it seems, lately, and a lot of green. That's what I've been hearing, so we've been making a lot of green tandems here for the shop. So that's pretty much what's going on out there. Now, you can always troll umbrella rigs. It's always super effective as well. Surgical tubes as well. A lot of people are doing well on the
Any particular areas you've been hearing about, like being more hot than others?
Trolling from the Bay Bridge down towards the mouth of the Severn River. It's been really hot, especially over passing by Hackett's Point there. That's been really productive. Also, if you fish up in Rock Hall, which I don't think many people have heard about. A lot of people have been going up towards Rock Hall area as well. Mouth of Patapsco too. I mean, it's that time of the year where you can really find rockfish in almost all sorts of depths, whether you're going to be doing shallow water mornings and evenings, or if you're going to be trolling in deeper water.
Yeah, and I mean, trolling bite, to touch on that, you know, it's going to continue to get better.
I
mean, this is just the start of it. It seems to be shaping up to be a good, classic trolling fall.
We might even have big fish come up in November and December. We don't know. They haven't came up a while, at least on that time frame.
And if they do, it's short. It's a short window,
short period.
You got to be there.
Stuff. A lot of people trolling really heavy stuff down deep.
Right. So remember, guys, trolling wise, tandems, umbrellas, all that good stuff.
Surgical tubes.
Adjust your depths based on what you see out there. A lot of times, you know, this is just a range that we've been hearing that's been picking up good fish and fish in general.
You know, early fall, a lot of suspended fish. And not only is it important to vary your depths, but also just having baits that are deep, high, low, everything is going to be super important to cover that water column.
And one thing I want to mention is, other than that, remember, you can also troll inside the rivers. I mean, Severn River, that's a classic area from Round Bay all the way down towards the, 450 bridge, pretty much to Naval Academy. And one of my old stomping grounds, it's pretty much around the Key Bridge. Anywhere from the Inner Harbor out towards pretty much the 7-foot knoll. Those areas are, some classic areas where a lot of people don't troll, and you don't see many people, but they produce some good fish.
For sure.
Now, jigging wise,
a lot of fish being caught in the same areas, but primarily, at least if you want to get on a big concentration of fish, everything that I've heard is right out at the mouth of Patapsco. From that Belvedere Shoals area towards the mouth of Patapsco, there's a lot of good jiggable fish. We're fishing some bigger baits now. We're putting skirts on them. We're trying to bulk up that profile because our bait's getting relatively big this time of the year. So adding skirts to your jigs and stuff is always a good bet as well. So
this is just a little package we have here that we pre-made.
Little package. You get a few skirts, a few different jigs. But bulking up that profile there by adding a skirt really does help this time of the year. Also, you get that color contrast, which is also something else people really like. And you cannot beat a paddle tail, especially if you're light tackle casting in shallower waters.
And really that helps a lot of new people that are getting into jigging that, don't have the technique down.
Much less learning curve to it.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where you can just throw it out, bounce it on the bottom. The paddle tail will give you a lot of action. For you guys that are just getting into it, it's always helpful. A lot of people, sometimes I've seen them, they kind of rig them backwards too sometimes.
A lot of guys like the upside down. There's a few different views on it. One is you have more hook exposure, and another one is it moves more, but I think the most realistic thought of rigging things upside down is you're on the bottom. We're trying to mimic dying stuff. Not always, I mean, if you have baits that are just bouncing along the bottom, they might not be right side up. They're probably going to be struggling to stay afloat. So seeing them upside down is also another good profile.
7-foot knoll. I know a couple guys have been hitting them there pretty good. Pretty much going up towards Hardmiller Island. A couple of those flats have been some good birds. And I've even heard of some actual good-sized peanut bunker schools inside the Chester and also in Belvedere Shoals area. That's like your classic areas where those fish are going to be flowing out.
Yeah.
That bait fish is going to be stacking up in some of those shoal areas, and you just got to go through there. And
you got to cover a lot of water this time of the year, because once you find them, though, I mean, it's that fall time bite where these fish are packed thick.
Right.
Once you get on a good school of fish, you could stay on that for 6-8 hours all day long, catching 25, 30-inch fish.
And a lot of the chart guys are coming back up from down south, and that should tell you something, that this area is going to be becoming pretty hot here in the next few weeks with trolling, jigging, and like we mentioned, anything you really want to do out there. You know, it's one of those times of the year where as we get those colder temperatures, everything starts to pick up. And it seems like the temperature is going to be a little more consistent now. So with that saying, let's touch up on some shallow water stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, topwater, always fun. Fishing things like poppers if you have a little bit of wake out on the surface. But if you're not, fishing things like spooks, which I prefer a spook, especially when we don't have as much, you know, current out there or less rips on the surface. Fishing a spook just works so beautifully.
And we got the little Smack It Juniors from Stillwater back in stock.
Very popular.
You know, they got the heavy rattles in there. I mean, one of my old school favorite poppers. I mean, we took us a while to get them in, but we got them in now, so come get those guys. But jerk baits and one of those things, and for you guys kayak fishing or, you know, fishing off smaller boats and you want to troll and kind of, you know, work through there. Forgot to mention that little deep diving plug. I believe this guy goes down to about 15 foot of water.
Yeah, it gets down.
Like Sammy said, you know, it gets down there. Great for inside the rivers. You can actually troll this with some little bit heavier spinning tackle, and it works great. But yeah, you got some jerk baits there.
Yeah, so you can't always get fish to commit on the surface. I don't care how perfect the the temperature is and the time of year. A lot of times these fish just don't want to commit to surface plugs. So fishing subsurface stuff like these jerk baits here, classic X-Wraps. They've been around forever. They catch a lot of fish for a lot of people every day.
Sometimes you catch them different with them too.
You'll catch different things, especially if you're up here, and especially the northern rivers. You have the opportunity to pickerel, snakehead, all sorts of things you can catch on a jerk bait.
I mean, we still got some of those puppy drum around, so they'll hit those jerk baits sometimes. And you know, with that, sometimes you'll find that speckled trout that's mixed in there, or weak fish. Once
in a while. Another thing too is we getting back to the paddle tails. I mean, I think they really shine in sub 8 foot of water. The ability just to move those through that water column, and they're so easy to fish.
And for you guys wanted to know a couple of recommended areas and high report areas, it's going to be, once again, touching into this area of the Patapsco. I mean, inside the Patapsco, inside the actual structure there of like the Key Bridge. What I mean by structure is like the port itself has a lot of structure where you can fish deep ledges that have shallow water close to those ship lanes and whatnot, that are classic areas where you can use all of this light tackle stuff, jigs, topwater, and all of that. I mean, we're getting a lot of reports from that area, but remember, guys, this can happen anywhere. Don't just follow reports, but make the reports too, because there's a lot of areas where in the South River, one of the areas we don't get a lot of reports from, there's good fish in there.
There's great fish in the South River, out towards the mouth and all the way up in, most of the way. As well as the Severn, Round Bay area has been great. Whitehall is always a good opportunity as well this time of the year. Whitehall is great for topwater.
And just to touch bases with you guys, shore fishermen or surf fishermen around this area for rockfish right now, there is some actual areas that you can hit that haven't been touched much. For example, the other day we went out and I did not see a single person off Thomas Point Park. And that's your classic shore fisherman plug-in area where you're going to throw some of these jerk baits, topwaters, and you can get into some good-sized fish from those parks. Now, there's some areas inside the harbor where you can actually walk around and fish. I mean, I wouldn't stay too late out there, but, you can actually fish those areas. And you guys fishing from Sandy Point and Kent Narrows, I mean, your classic time right now. It's about to shine right now with that cut bait.
Especially, a lot of people don't talk about it, but I think it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, there's a lot of guys coming in from Roman Cove, catching really nice fish on big topwater, just so you can really cast so far. If you're from shore, it might not be a bad idea to fish larger than these. Now, if you have the opportunity to fish these smaller profiles, I think that's probably what you're looking for. But if you can't, stemming up on the size to the full-size Stillwater Smackets, some of the other stuff like that, just so you can really get them out there, cover a lot of water. Roman Cove was really good a couple weeks ago for guys catching topwater fish.
Canaros. I mean, we can emphasize Canaros. This is, I guess, one of the best times or seasons to actually fish there from shore and get some actual good-sized fish out of there. But yeah, there's a lot of areas, guys, and there's a lot of information out there on websites for county parks and all that, where you can actually look it up, and your best friend's going to be pretty much Google Maps and find some of those little areas. You can find a
lot of spots too, and ask your buddies. Anywhere. If you have a buddy who lives on a river, see if you can't get out on his pier in the evenings, because that is a great opportunity.
And now, talking about rivers, what else is going on in the river, Sammy?
Pickerel's starting to heat up. It's that perfect time for pickerel fishing. It's probably my favorite time, especially if you're looking for numbers. You can catch so many fish this time of the year. It just becomes versatile. I think you have a lot of other things that are starting to push out of the creeks, which allow pickerel to, be more likely to bite when that's pretty much what you're only targeting in there. Smaller jerk baits are always great, especially suspending ones. Small X-wraps, the rip stops are really good as well. They just stop like a dime, which is so important. I think when you're fishing a jerk bait, having that bait just stop right away, it's what you're looking for it just to sit right in front of a fish's face for 5-8 seconds.
And they just get
can't handle it.
And tell us a little bit about those spinners you got there, bud.
Yeah, so we've been making these spinners at the shop for a couple years now, and it's by far been one of my favorite pickerel lures. I fish them almost religiously. I throw them all year long. All the way out into late December, January, you can still crawl those things along the bottom and catch fish doing that. But another opportunity is just fishing a minnow. It's people have been doing it for years for pickerel. We just set up this little rig here. It's got a little spinner on here, a couple beads. This is going to be awesome. Fishing this on our bobber, casting into those shallow water areas, round structure, and just kind of letting that minnow do what it wants to do. Another thing you can do is just take this bobber off and cast and retrieve it, especially if you're in shallow water, like 3-4 feet of water. Taking that off of there, just casting it and slowly working it through the water column. Awesome.
Now, a couple spots for these pickerel fishing areas. I mean, Magothy, Severn, a couple areas in the Patapsco, but not many. The rivers have been kind of on and off here the past few years, but they're there. I mean, upper part of the Magothy, inside the creeks in the Magothy. Little Magothy's got some.
Little Magothy. Another thing is if you make the ride over towards some of those mill ponds on the shore, I mean, there's some absolute giant pickerel over there. You see them every year. Somebody will catch a 27-inch pickerel. I mean, if you fish those mill ponds, you're truly hunting for giant pickerel.
Yeah, and a couple of those ponds you mentioned, Smithfield Lake,
Johnson's, Unicorn, all of those have just
and the cool thing about minnows, it's you want to use smaller to big size minnows that you can mix a range, and of course we have those snakehead destroyers that will work perfectly for all this pickerel fishing. And the cool thing about that when you're fishing those ponds is that you don't know what you're going to catch.
Yeah, especially if you have a minnow. I mean, you catch everything in there. Crappie, yellow perch,
bass, all that good stuff.
Probably snakeheads in most of them by now.
But yeah, try those out. That's another fishery to look forward to for the next few months now. So fishing never stops. It just gets it changes a little bit, but there's always things to do out there.
Probably my favorite fishery we have in the bay is catching pickerel.
I
love those things.
Same thing.
But pushing out back onto the river systems and along with the main stem of the bay, fishing for perch, they're starting to push a little deeper. You still have some on the docks, things like that. But some of them are definitely pushing out into deeper water. We're seeing them on, things in 15, 20 feet of water. Jigging small jigs like these guys here right off of the bottom. Always going to be a great idea. These are just small little jigs, jigging them right off the bottom. You can't beat that. If you want to rig them in tandem, you can even put a small fly or something above it, about a foot or two, and now you're catching 2 at a time.
Any favorite areas you got for this time of the year?
Any hard bottom, especially out in front of Love Point. There's a lot of hard bottom guys have been fishing anywhere from 15 to 20 feet of water.
And sometimes you can mark them now, right? When they get all schooled up.
They're going to get stacked, especially as we push later and later in the fall. They'll get even tighter.
You think it's a rock or something, and it might just be a humongous school of perch out there. And we're talking about white perch, those white perch there. But besides that, snakehead fishing is pretty much coming to not an end, but it's slowing down a lot, especially for blackwater. I keep hearing a lot of mixed reports and throughout the whole state, pretty much. Upper Bay, you still have a lot of fish up there, while the guys in Blackwater are getting, hit or miss situations, and then the guys in the Potomac and Patapsco are pretty much going back and forth with water temperature. So it's one of those years where it might, hopefully not, but it might end a little bit earlier this year because it does seem to cool down.
Yep.
It is cooling down a little bit faster this year, but minnows, paddletails slowly on the bottom will be your ticket for those guys.
And another thing that I think is, you know, western shore snakeheads, magathys, severn, south, all of them got really pressured this year, especially when the word got out that people are out there targeting them, that they're there. But as we push into fall time, there's going to be a lot less people out there trying to catch them. That's when you can be really successful and have a good day on the western shore.
Yeah. So. Now, other things with that to touch bases on, it's been pretty much surf fishing in Chesapeake out in the coast, and nothing crazy yet, but they are starting to catch some of those big bull reds right on the surf. Some, you know, last few sharks and a lot of small bluefish. So make sure you get your spot in your LWAT for that. Still catch some sheep's head on the actual inlet, but that's also kind of winding down right now.
Yeah.
Crabbing, you heard anything about crabbing?
Crabbing's still good. You're pushing out in deeper water. I'd say 9 to 12 foot is probably the range you're looking for. If you're going to run a trout line, it's still pretty successful. But traps start doing a little bit better as you push into that deeper water, especially when those crabs have a long time to hold up. Getting them onto a trout line, but running traps is always a good bet this time of year.
Nice, nice. So I think that's all we got for your fishing report this week, guys. Remember, go to our website. Check out all the great sales coming up here in the middle of the month here, coming up the 16, 17, and 18.
Big sales.
Big sales.
Huge
That's the time
sales.
to come by, talk to us, and get set up for whatever fall, winter fishing you're doing, and stock up on some baits for the following season. So.
Stock up on baits, stock up on rods, so you can whip these topwaters out there on our yards.
And
we'll
remember,
have it all.
fishing never stops. It just changes a little bit, so make sure you keep going out there. And like I said before, send us your pictures.
Want to see what you're catching.
You know, we want to see what you're catching. Yeah, and all of that. So that's it for your fish report, guys. You guys have a good one.
Thank you.